Part 260. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu. Chapter 2591. You want to hurt my apprentice. The great uncle shrugged, and then walked 2 steps towards Jude, the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team in the law enforcement hall. Jude, the leader of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, took a deep breath. He had planned to fight hard, and he must not be cowardly, but when the great Uncle G came in front of his eyes, his body subconsciously retreated 2 steps. I don't need to say much about the rest for the time being, but I'm really scared in my heart. The sense of panic in my heart at this moment is particularly real. After taking a few steps back, Jude, the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, felt that this was not the case again. Why should he be so cowardly? This is too embarrassing. He violated the school's rules, and the law enforcement team arrested him according to the school's rules. This is a matter of our law enforcement hall. I'm afraid the uncle's tutor can't intervene. Jude, captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team in the law enforcement hall, took a deep breath, then forcibly raised his head and chest. Anyway, at this time, I still want to continue pretending. Otherwise, this wave of face slaps is really too painful. I really don't want to continue to feel it. I can't get in. Why can't I intervene in my apprentice's affairs? What kind of virtue is your law enforcement hall? Don't you have any points in your heart? There have been fewer unjust, false, and wrongly decided cases over the years. If my apprentice breaks the rules of the school today, I will turn around and leave without saying a word. My great Uncle G is not the kind of person who messes around. But if anyone dares to wrong my apprentice, this matter will be over. Let's make a fuss together. Don't even think about it. Uncle G sneered, stepped out, and then the floor paved with granite stones cracked little by little. The eye sockets of Jude, captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team in the law enforcement hall, suddenly curled up slightly. He knew in his heart that the guy in front of him never cared about the rules and irregularities. Not to mention him as the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team, even the head and deputy head of the law enforcement hall would dare to yell casually. Where is the injustice? There is no injustice at all. Second uncle. What are you waiting for? Just take this Fang Fan down. He made a big fuss at my birthday party, cut off my right arm, and amputated 3 fingers on my left hand. Now it's even cutting off my only 2 remaining fingers in the law enforcement hall. This is a fierce god. Don't kill him. It's hard to calm down. He must be killed. He must be killed. Second uncle, you are the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall. What are you afraid of? You said you would avenge me. Second uncle. I'm so sick. I'm about to die of anger. Hurry up. Why don't you do it? Are you scared when you see the master coming? Don't forget how you made your fortune. Without my father, you would be nothing. Qiuzhan, a young man in green clothes, is completely gone. At this moment, a pair of eyeballs turned blood red, and while shouting, the gesture of gnashing teeth was very real. Anyway, it is such a real attitude now. They went up and shouted and screamed, and began to fully force Jude, the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall. It even involved all the old things. The things in this wave of scenes are very real. There is an inexplicable sense of joy when I look at it. As the green-clothed youth Qiuzhan continued to howl, the face of Jude, the leader of the Suanwu law enforcement team in the law enforcement hall, became increasingly ugly. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu. Chapter 2592. Swearing does not reveal shortcomings. The young man doesn't talk about Wyud. Some things can be said, but there are some things that really cannot be said. Isn't that just a slap in the face? This crackling, does the face really not hurt? Now his complexion is completely black, and he still wants to get a hammer? This wave after wave, what kind of trouble do you want to make? Things on the scene can't be stabilized at all. Shut up. You know shit. Jude, the leader of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, took a few deep breaths, and then gave his stupid nephew Chiu Zhan a vicious look. Who the hell knew that you provoked Tai Shuja's apprentice? Don't give me a call beforehand. Uncle G is a well-known necromancer. If people really start a fire, the law enforcement hall can be blown away. If I can avenge you, why can't I do it for you? It's not that the situation is severe now. Damn, I don't know how to restrain myself at all. Jude, the leader of the Suanwil law enforcement team in the law enforcement hall, let out a foul breath, and he still had a feeling of uneasiness at this moment. What does it feel like to meet a stupid nephew? It's killing me. You're killing me. You just don't want to do things for me. Chiu Ergu. You have changed. Do you still remember the scene when you begged my father when you were down and out? It's all right now, are you up? Are you ungrateful? I order you to get him. Get Fang Fan. This is the law enforcement hall, you are the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team. What's so scary about you? Ah. You're a hammer. If I can't get out of my breath today, I'm going to be pissed off. How will you explain to my father then? Chiu Ergu. Don't forget how you gained a foothold in the academy. Chiu Zhan, a young man in green, was completely blinded by hatred at this moment, and while he was talking, blood was still bubbling from his lips. As the howling roar continued, black lines flashed out on his forehead. Anyway, now it is a posture of going to the end. Anyway, this attitude is very real at this moment. Go up and do it. There is no hypocrisy. As for the face of Jude, the leader of the Suanwil law enforcement team in the law enforcement hall, his face was already as dark as water. Being abused by my nephew in person, and even calling me a trumpet, what kind of sour feeling is this? Chiu Ergu. Haven't heard the name for a long time. It's a shameful memory. Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team in the Hall of Law Enforcement, gritted his teeth, and at this moment, he inexplicably felt his whole body surging. A pair of eyeballs are gradually filled with blood. Now he really wants to beat Chiu Zhan, the young man in green, to death with a single blow. What's the use of keeping such a bastard? But in the end, Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, still resisted the surge. After all, he is his nephew, and he has the same blood as himself. This is the only son of the eldest brother, and the eldest brother will not let him go if he dies. If you are an elder, you don't care about anything with the younger generation. Jude, captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, bit his tongue, letting the surging feeling in his heart gradually disappear. In this way, I can feel better in my heart, and I won't be directly pissed off. You can shut up now. Stop talking. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences. Jude, captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, issued a final warning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 2593. Seeing Jude's gesture and expression, Chiu Zhan, a young man in green, thought that his persecution had worked, and felt that he could continue to stimulate him, so that his wish would be fulfilled. Chiu Ergu, do you feel that you have no face left? You think I've saved your face? If you don't do things so badly, Don't I still treat you as my most beloved second uncle? You did it all yourself. Chiu-ergu, I will put my words here today. This matter is really endless. Chiu-ergu, hurry up and act. What the hell are you waiting for? Jude, captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, continued to roar, with extremely excited facial expressions. Now it's just a Chiu-ergu at every turn. Chiu-ergu, talk to me. Ah! Snapped. Jude, captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, couldn't bear it anymore, and slapped the green-clothed youth Chiu Zhan tens of meters away with a big mouth. Originally, the arm of the young man in green was broken, but now he can only be directly connected to the ground, and his face is directly disfigured. I told you to shut up. I can handle this matter. What should I do? It's not your turn to shout. After all, Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, became hardened, and his eyes were blood red while talking. As for the green-clothed young man Chiu Zhan who got a big mouth, he first glanced around in a daze, and then fixed his hatred eyes directly on Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall. Chiu-ergu. You dare to hit me. My father will not let you go. Today's business is over. It turns out that you have been working together for a long time. Just come and fool me. Chiu-ergu, you can do it. You are a traitor to my Chiu family. Doggy stuff. I will definitely tell my dad. Chiu Zhan, a young man in green, spat out a mouthful of blood. While talking at this moment, resentment was wrapping his whole body. At this moment, he was almost pissed off. I didn't expect to see such a wonderful scene. Disciple, we did not waste this time. Really, interesting. Ha ha ha. Uncle G picked out his ears, and then laughed out loud as he talked. How comfortable this scene is. Keep doing what you can. Takeoff is always pending. Fang Fan shrugged, watching the farce in front of him. He also felt quite speechless. Teacher, let's go, the play is over, let's go. Taishaji waved his hand, then said with a smile. Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, suddenly stepped forward at this moment, with a very ugly expression on his face. Today, if Taishaji took people away so simply, he would be really ashamed. This face is really lost at home. What is this all about? The matter has not been investigated clearly, you can't leave. When you enter the law enforcement hall, explain the matter clearly. Punishment should be punished, and punishment should be punished naturally cannot be avoided. This captain treats everyone equally. The eyes of Jude, the leader of the Suanwil law enforcement team in the law enforcement hall, gradually turned blood red, and at this moment he said forcefully, anyway, all aspects of his posture have been shown. At the very least, you have to maintain your own face. Give you a face. Uncle G sneered, and then put his hand on the shoulder of Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, and then Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, turned pale. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 2594. These two are not on the same fighting standard at all. The difference is not a star and a half. The things on the scene are so real. A wave down, full of emotion. Uncle G. You let me go. This is the law enforcement hall. Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, gritted his teeth and roared. This is so difficult. My brain is buzzing, this feeling is taking off in a wave. What happened to the law enforcement hall? What does that have to do with me beating you up? If I beat you, will you arrest me? Besides, am I hitting you? I just hooked your shoulders to show that we have a good relationship, but if you can't afford it, it has nothing to do with me. Taishaji was talking, and then said seriously. Jude, the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, almost spit out a mouthful of blood. He has seen shameless ones, but he has never seen such shameless ones. Can't you be a little more low-key? Is this wave of suppressing operations really good? After all, I am also the captain of the Suanwil law enforcement team. If you hit me in the face like this, don't I want to lose face? I heard that someone detained my students from the God of War Academy. Who? Who did it? A wave of powerful aura followed, and the whole person felt a wave of panic and anxiety inexplicably in the law enforcement hall. Immediately, two figures appeared in the crowd of Yanian. After a glance, everyone's hearts were shocked. Yes, it's Gao Song, the dean of the God of War Academy, and Qiu Wei, the deputy dean. Two big bosses from the God of War Academy have been invited over. It seems that the impact of this incident is really far-reaching, otherwise it wouldn't be like this. It's a bit interesting to look at. The problem here seems to be quite small. Isn't it good to take off in one wave? Hold on fully. By the way, that Qiu Zhan whose arms were broken seems to be the son of the vice president of the God of War Academy, Qiu Wei. Could it be that he came to avenge his son? If it looks like this, it's really cool. Everyone's eyes gathered here, and the expressions on their faces were very real, but they became more and more excited. I feel that there is another wave of good drama to watch. Now everyone is focusing their attention on the further development of the situation. Qiu Zhan, the green-clothed young man who had been aggrieved and huddled in the corner, saw his father coming, and his lips began to twitch unnaturally. Dad is here. The backer is here. Dad must have come to avenge himself. Yes. That must be it. Be sure, you must seize this wave. What Fang Fan? What Jude? You have to pay the price. Who made you offend me? Qiu Zhan, a young man in green, thought to himself, then swung his non-existent arms and ran frantically into the distance. Daddy! 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 Revenge! Revenge! My son is so miserable. Been cut off both arms. It's a cripple. That bastard Jude. He's in cahoots with other people. They suppress me so much. Shameless you. Father! Father! If you don't come again, I will really die. You may not see me. Father! The child is so miserable. Qiu Zhan, a young man in green, started to cry, he was so frankly wronged. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 2595. But fortunately, the end of all hardships is about to come. The bitterness in my heart has to be spit out slowly, otherwise this will really be irritating to death. The eyeballs are in a state of bulging at the moment, and the mentality is really unstoppable. What kind of trouble is this trying to make? Looking at it from every posture, he couldn't understand it. I can't understand it at all. At this moment, the mentality is broken. Looking at his father, Qiu Zhan felt safe. He rushed over in a hurry. Although there were still tears on his face, the joyful smile on his face was very real. Snapped. A loud slap followed, and it was the slap that greeted him. Qiu Zhan, the young man in green, froze in place. Why hit him? He is so aggrieved, why? Why? The grievances in my heart have already burst. There is nowhere to vent. What the hell are you still yelling at me here? Cry out for a hammer. Can you still do it? This slap broke my heart. The numb eyes of the young man in green glanced around, his lips trembled slightly unnaturally, and cold sweat flowed from his forehead. At this moment, he felt that he was superfluous. He was abandoned by this world. Why? Why? Qiuzhan, a young man in green, let out a hasty roar, and while roaring, his face became extremely flushed in an instant. This is really unbearable. Don't hit people in the face. This is too much. Why? Why don't you have any points in your heart? Do you really think I don't know anything? Training room number 5 is for the training of the first year seed class. What kind of birthday party are you using it for? Who did you get permission from? Private use of public equipment. Shameless. If they want to go back to training room number 5, you not only refuse to give it, but also fight. Who is to blame for being beaten like this now? Traitor. Snapped. Qiu Wei, the vice president of the God of War Academy, continued to slap his mouth. The green-clothed youth Qiuzhan was beaten to the ground and ran around. He was really confused. Why did he become like this? This is different from what he expected. Really different. To hell with it all. When did his father become so righteous? He almost didn't know him anymore. How righteous and righteous this is. How about yourself, do you really have no points in your heart? Didn't you teach me to be arrogant and domineering? You taught me to be like this, but now you are showing your holiness, what a joke. Qiuzhan, a young man in green, touched the cold ground with his broken arm wound, and then a mouthful of blood stuck in his heart, and he couldn't hold it back, and vomited it out. Don't make trouble, your father Qiu will remember, but today's situation is special, Gao Song is here, I can only do this. Qiu Wei, vice president of the God of War Academy, flew to the side of the green-clothed young man Qiuzhan in an instant, and then directly whispered into his ear. Call. Qiuzhan, a young man in green, let out a heavy sigh of relief. If this is the case, then it seems normal, and my heart gradually becomes more comfortable. Let's pretend first, he understands. What is the origin of this kid, and why are there so many people protecting him? First, there was an undead mentor Tai Shija, and now even the dean of the God of War Academy is here. The green-clothed youth Qiuzhan's complexion became more and more vicious, he remembered this enmity. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 2596. The things on the scene are so real. After a wave, everyone's eyes gathered here, and the expressions of interest on their faces became more and more. It's really exciting to make a big noise in the law enforcement hall. Everything seems to be centered on Fang Fan. First, the undead mentor Tai Shiji came to calm the audience, and then the dean and deputy dean of the God of War Academy came over. At first, everyone thought that Qiu Wei, the vice president of the God of War Academy, came here to take revenge on Fang Fan, but looking at this gesture, it didn't look like he was taking revenge. It's clearly here to blow up his own baby. Captain Jude, is this how your law enforcement hall conducts law enforcement? Arbitrarily arresting people before the investigation is clear. Is it unintentional or intentional? It's impossible not to give the dean an explanation for this matter today. Fang Fan is an elite student of my God of War Academy, and a core figure in the seed class. You should be glad that nothing happened today, otherwise he. Gao Song, the dean of the God of War Academy, was speaking, and the displeasure on his face grew more and more. Originally, he was making arrangements for the seed class in the God of War Academy, but suddenly he heard that all the 100 students in the first year seed class were taken to the law enforcement hall. As long as it is related to the seed class, it is no small matter. He was hurrying and catching up, and finally caught up. Then this happened. Things still don't make sense so far. Jude, captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the Law Enforcement Hall, faced the full-scale bombardment of Gao Song, the dean of the God of War Academy, and his face suddenly changed. This wave of beating is not small. This is clearly expressing his inner dissatisfaction. After this wave, the feeling in my heart is still relatively in place. Jude, captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team in the Law Enforcement Hall, took a deep breath, and then the bitterness on his face involuntarily increased. Who knew there was such a deep background in catching someone casually? Let's not talk about Tai Shiji's presence, now even the Dean of the God of War Academy is present. When facing Tai Shiji, Jude, the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the Law Enforcement Hall, was only afraid of being beaten, and the other sense of panic was okay. But when he faced Gao Song, the Dean of the God of War Academy, he was really scared. The Dean of the God of War Academy, this status is not low. Only one step away is the Deputy Palace Master. And because the Ares Academy is the most valued academy in the Guangming Academy, generally speaking, the Dean of the Ares Academy is the nominee for the Deputy Palace Master. As long as there is a vacancy in the position of Deputy Palace Master, this person may be there. In Guangming Academy, if you offend Tai Shiji, you will be beaten a few times at most. But if you offend the Vice President of the God of War Academy in front of you, it's basically really cool. Whether he can still hang out in the Law Enforcement Hall is still a question. Dean Gao Song, listen to my explanation. Actually, this matter is like this. When I first entered, I found that Qiu Zhan's arm was broken. I might have been impulsive at the time, so. Where's Fang Fan? Tell Fang Fan to come out and meet me. Before Jude, the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the Law Enforcement Hall, could finish speaking, there were waves of roars from afar. The scene once seemed to explode. Everyone's eyes gathered here, and the expressions on their faces looked extremely strange. Why does this voice sound so familiar? Who's the big guy coming in again? Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 2597. Everyone's gazes flocked to him, and the curious look on their faces involuntarily increased. At this moment, apart from being curious, I am even more surprised. What the hell happened today? The bosses ran towards the Law Enforcement Hall one after another. Speaking of Law Enforcement Hall, it has never been a sacred place to sign in and check in. Gradually, a clear figure appeared in front of everyone. Those melon-eating people around widened their eyes, and then took a breath. There is no doubt that they were really shocked at this moment. Vice Palace Master. Such a small matter actually alarmed the Deputy Palace Master. This is too powerful. Damn, I read it right. Awesome. Hang and beat everyone who refuses to accept it? Strong. So strong. Don't say anything superfluous, now I'm really convinced. Maybe this is the boss. Torturing and killing all dissatisfied? The Deputy Palace Master is here, who is it? You're blind. Who's here yet? With the current situation, is it something you can't understand? Isn't this already obvious? Look, who was arrested and brought to the Law Enforcement Hall. Fang Fan, the Deputy Palace Master is also here for Fang Fan? Why do I feel a little bit unbelievable? Hee, don't believe it, don't believe it. The facts are here. What kind of background does this Fang Fan have, and how did he become like this? Hey, who would have thought it would turn into this? I can understand the arrival of Tai Shiji's tutor, after all, Fang Fan is his apprentice. It's just what's going on behind this. Master Dean of God of War Academy. The Deputy Head of Guangming Academy. Why are these great figures gathered together today? I really can't figure it out. There are so many things that I can't figure out. Sometimes things that I think are absolutely impossible are happening now, So what can I do? It can only be said that it is indeed so powerful. Hang and beat all dissatisfied. There is a good show to watch, let's focus on here. The people who eat melons are completely excited. This wave, I can watch dramas again. In life, there is nothing more exciting than watching a play. Feeling it this time, the eyeballs are rolling rapidly. It is conceivable how intense the excitement in this heart is. At this moment, the expressions on the faces of the people standing inside the law enforcement hall are also very different. Uncle G curled his lips, but his expression was indifferent. From his point of view, even if the palace master came, it would be normal. After all, my apprentice is a peerless arrogance who has suppressed the eternity, and it cannot be expressed in words. Isn't it normal for these guys from Guangming Academy to pay more attention? Gao Song, the dean of the Ares Academy, nodded silently. Although there was surprise in his eyes, he could understand. Chiu Wei, the vice president of the God of War Academy, subconsciously gasped. For some reason, he felt an inexplicable sense of gratitude at this moment. This feeling is too strong. Those things in consciousness are slowly gathering. Fortunately, I gave that prodigal son a few big mouths just now. At the very least, I can express my position. If I had been a little more arrogant just now, this wave will be completely cold. This Fang Fan is really not easy to provoke. If you want to retaliate in the future, you really have to make a perfect plan. Chiu Wei, vice president of the God of War Academy, rolled his eyes crazily, feeling a sense of happiness in his heart. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 2598. As the instigator of this incident, Jude, the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, only had waves of sensation in his mind. At this moment, he doesn't know what to say. It feels like all the words are blocked in my mouth, and I can't speak any words at this moment. My thoughts gather here, and I feel a headache for no reason. This time, I was really tricked by that idiot nephew. Who would have thought that things would develop to this point? This idiot dares to attack casually without investigating the opponent's background at all. It made me fall into the trap. Asshole. Jude, the leader of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, thought to himself, and then he gritted his teeth, and his thoughts gradually boiled over. Anyway, the feeling in my heart is very uncomfortable. Jude, the leader of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, cursed secretly in his heart, and then gave a vicious glance at the position of his idiot nephew Qiuzhan. Qiuzhan, a young man in green, is completely ignorant at the moment. This wave after wave, he never predicted it. If he knew it was so complicated, his birthday party would not have been held in the first place. Just hold a birthday party and make so many things, what kind of trouble do you want? At this moment, everyone's eyes were surprisingly unanimously looking at Shui Wanren, the deputy master of Guangming Academy in the distance. Shui Wanren's gaze focused on Fang Fan in an instant, and he was completely aggressive at the moment. And at this moment, a beautiful figure appeared beside Shui Wanren, the deputy head of Guangming Academy. Fang Fan. Are you okay? They said that you were kidnapped and sent to the law enforcement hall. They scared me to death. It's good that you're fine. If something happens to you, I won't live anymore. Concubine Xiang's face was full of tears, she was talking, and then her hands were groping around Fang Fan's body, while talking, the expression of tension on her face was palpable. After seeing Concubine Xiang, Fang Fan immediately understood. The deputy palace master should have been brought here by Concubine Xiang. After all, Concubine Xiang is Shui Wanren's daughter. No matter how loud the deputy head of the Guangming Academy is outside, he might not be able to resist acting like a spoiled child in front of his daughter. Fang Fan raised his eyebrows, and glanced at Shui Wanren, the deputy head of the Guangming Academy, and saw that the deputy head was blowing his beard and staring, and the gesture of gnashing his teeth was very real. Naturally, he can't have a good look on his face now. Seeing his precious daughter, Fang Fan, looking so eager and nervous, Shui Wanren felt inexplicably heartbroken. The daughter he raised in the palm of his hand has changed his mind. This has changed. Completely changed. Become very clear. After this wave, inexplicably, I felt my head buzzing. It's useless to say 1,000 words and 10,000, anyway, I just feel a headache right now. For Fang Fan, the culprit who hooked up with his daughter, Shui Wanren naturally wouldn't have a good face. And if anything happens in the academy recently, it must have something to do with Fang Fan. This has become an established law. Ever since this kid entered the academy, he has never stopped. At this moment, everyone looked at Xiangfei and Fang Fan's intimacy in ignorance, and their eyes widened, looking very surprised. What is even more surprising is that the deputy palace master stood aside with a menacing look. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 2599. Anyway, the feeling of doing things right now is very strong. Wave after wave, this is the rhythm of wanting to fly. Not to mention anything else, the sense of rhythm is very strong now. This situation, I don't understand. The deputy palace master is here to help Fang Fan? Why do I feel that the deputy palace master's eyes are full of anger when looking at Fang Fan? I also feel the same. Could it be that this Fang Fan once offended the deputy palace master? The deputy palace chief took this opportunity to give Fang Fan a blow. If you say that, it's really possible. If this is the case, it will be more and more interesting. Who says it's not? But if anyone offends the deputy palace master, his life is basically ruined, and he wants to throw a hammer. It's just how I feel. Why doesn't it feel right? The eyes of the deputy palace master looking at Fang Fan are not purely anger. What should I say about the eyes? Maybe it's love and hate. Love and hate? You made me understand again. You idiots, you don't even know the relationship between the deputy palace master and this big brother Fang Fan. You are really stupid. Did you see the girl who is jumping next to Fang Fan at this moment? That's concubine Xiang. It's the biological daughter of the deputy palace master. Big brother Fang Fan has lived a happy life and is full of charm. Naturally, he also hooked up with the daughter of the palace master. Speaking of which, boss Fang Fan is still the son-in-law of the deputy palace master. My CAO. There is such an inside story. I understand this wave, I really understand. Awesome. Hang and beat all dissatisfied. So powerful. So it's like that, you can't be good, you can't be good, the deputy palace master will be in place. No matter how angry this deputy palace master is now, but with this relationship, he will definitely be on the side of Fang Fan. I already know what the result looks like. All kinds of noise can be heard endlessly, but it gradually becomes extremely lively inside. Everyone complained one after another, and it felt quite refreshing to listen to these complaints. In Guangming Academy, it is rare to see such a lively scene. After such a wave, it feels very real. Ideas gathered and gradually became extremely profound. At this moment, Fang Fan has been completely pushed to the forefront. Such a big event happened in the law enforcement hall, even the deputy palace master was present at the moment. Lu Qingshan, the left-behind deputy hall master of the law enforcement hall, couldn't sit still at this moment, and rushed over to pay a visit. Vice Palace Master, your presence is not far away. It is the fault of the subordinates. Is there any reason for Vice Palace Master to come to my law enforcement hall? Lu Qingshan, the left-behind deputy head of the law enforcement hall, was talking and then hurriedly nodded and bowed. Snored. I'm just here to find out something. This Fang Fan is still the core figure of the first-year seed class. What crime did he commit, so he was arrested? I have to investigate these things clearly. Nowadays, the construction of seed classes is the most important thing, I believe you can understand. Check it out for me. Impartiality. What I want is justice. If the law enforcement hall is engaged in such tricks, how can the atmosphere of the school be established? You are a law enforcement agency, set an example. Shui Wanren, deputy head of Guangming Academy, snorted coldly, and directly reprimanded him. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 2600. The roar of Shui Wanren, the deputy head of the Guangming Academy, made the scene extremely cold. Everyone's eyes gathered here, and the expressions on their faces changed extremely quickly. After this wave of feeling was in place, the eyeballs immediately spun along. The deputy palace master has already shown his power, so what can these young people say? Naturally, I can only follow suit with low eyebrows, not daring to slack off in the slightest. There was even a fawning look on his face. I'm afraid that the anger of the deputy palace master of Guangming Academy will be directly vented on him. At this moment, Lu Qingshan, the deputy head of the law enforcement hall standing in front of him, seemed a little confused. This was suddenly reprimanded, and the feeling in my heart was naturally different. There is even an inexplicable feeling. I even thought in my heart, why? Why? I just came here, I don't know anything, I don't know anything. However, the deputy palace master reprimanded him, and Lu Qingshan, who was the deputy hall master of the law enforcement hall, naturally did not dare to resist, so he could only lower his head and bear it silently. But immediately he stared at Jude, the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team in the law enforcement hall not far away. Captain Jude. You took the lead in this matter. You captured the person. You should know exactly what the situation is like. Be honest. What's going on? As the captain of the Suanwu law enforcement team, you arrest people before the investigation is clear. Who gave you the power? How good is what the deputy palace master said just now? Why can't you remember it well? What is the situation? Do you have no points in your heart? The deputy palace master is here. The deputy palace master has piercing eyes. The deputy palace master will not wrong any good person, but he will definitely not turn against any bad person. What's going on? Tell me clearly. In front of the deputy palace master, don't play those dirty tricks. Lu Qingshan, the deputy head of the law enforcement hall, was speaking and then roared with confidence. Listening to this side, why do I feel that there is something wrong with what I said? This sounds inexplicably awkward. This feeling gradually gathered and became more and more intense. Every now and then, in front of the vice palace master, after the vice palace master, in just a few words, I'm afraid the deputy palace master was mentioned 5 or 6 times. It's completely flattering and fawning. Not to mention anything else, just this ability is not something ordinary people can possess. Inexplicably, I felt some strangeness in it. I saw student Fang Fan attacking student Qiu Zhan, so I made a mistake and brought him back. I must have made some mistakes in the operation, but I never thought of any disrespect to Fang Fan's students. This point must be clear. It's a misunderstanding. It must be a misunderstanding. After investigation, student Fang Fan was indeed, really wronged. Student Fang Fan, as a student of the first-year seed class, strives for the training room for the first-year seed class. This kind of spirit is very rare. Student Fang Fan can leave now. Student Fang Fan can step out of the law enforcement hall at any time. Jude, the leader of the Suanwu law enforcement team of the law enforcement hall, managed to pull out some smiles. While talking, the corners of his mouth twitched violently, and the feeling of gnashing his teeth in his heart was very real. The explosive feeling in my heart is naturally very real, but at this time, I can only silently choose to endure it.